Hi, welcome back to the Sense Kaleidoscopes podcast. I'm joined by Akshay as usual, and we're hoping to work with what we do at SK and how we are actively changing the autism narrative when it comes to busting myths and building comprehension. Akshay, hi. Could we talk a little bit about SA's philosophy before we jump into the actual process of what a child goes through at SK on a regular day?
So, SK, as you know, started with the college program, and the intent was to use the arts and to make education in a holistic manner and present it in a way that is not traditional in any way or form. Of course, as you were also very aware, for me, the social emotional aspect or the EQ of a person is probably more important than the IQ. Of course. But that's not how it is looked at traditionally in the educational systems. That comes from Jiddu, it comes from the philosophy of Gaber, comes from the philosophy of Vygotsky, where we are looking at the child in a whole. Because the child is not going to always be that child. He's going to become an adult and he's going to make decisions that's going to affect your environment. It's going to affect so many other people. So, while we started the space, the intent was how could we put a holistic education in place for autistic people? Well, that was very, very key. And we were looking at so many complications over there, whether it was the provision by itself or it was the environment that the child was being nurtured in. And because of that environment, what was the distress that was coming onto the table? Alongside, you're very well aware, the way the brain functions. I mean, we look at processing problems. There can be very, very slow processing. There can be moderate processing. There can be very fast processing, which brings its own kind of challenges onto the table. With all of this, we wanted to still put a holistic educational system in place. The most easiest thing to do philosophically was to go and anchor yourself somewhere so that you could start building from there. And Jiddu was the only person that I thought was providing us a framework where we could anchor ourselves with. So that's really the philosophy with which we have started and which continues to kind of breathe life vigorously.
And it's worked well, as you be.
Yes. I think very in a very subtle manner. Sometimes when somebody says, "Okay, what is SK like? Why is it built like a school for autism?" I say, if you can have a valley for neurotypical children, why can't you have a valley for autism?
So, Akshay, I think that the whole emotional and social bit that's possibly ignored or done as a lesson and not as a, integrated into everything. For instance, there is social story time, or there is, choose your emotion. How are you feeling today? I feel happy, but is it integrated into lessons? And, the regular day is something that possibly has been different at SK vis-a-vis something that I have seen at episodes, is my observation. Give us an idea of what a day in SK looks like. Maybe we can start with a younger age. If a student who has joined, say, the first grade equivalent, and then maybe we can move it to the art college just to give people an idea as to, how a child or a student at SK kind of regulates cognition, social emotional recognition and behavior, all in one whole basket.
Sure. Before we jump into what a day looks like, I think it's really important to understand some of the protocols that we put into place to ensure that we were working specifically for the autistic wide. One is when we start with that younger age, when human girls, I suppose, or for students of SK, we start anywhere from 4.5, as you're aware, as long as they have done the early intervention, of course. Integrating them means starting off as one-on-one. I'll be very honest about that. I don't think it is possible at all for us to just take them and put them into a group. And the maximum numbers for our groups are 3 or 4. Whereas in Scotland, I know we were going between 5 and 8. we have not been able to achieve that at all. And I think that there are many aspects to this environment that is not allowing us to create the same kind of impact that we are looking at it. And so if you want to see the impact as the main story here, then you would have to limit the numbers of the students into 3 or 4. And this is with a lead teacher and an assist teacher in the classroom.
So you're saying this only for the younger age group, or are you talking about the older age group?
No, only for the younger age. The older age group is going easily in between 5 and 8 for us.
With one teacher?
With one teacher.
Oh, fantastic. So, but is it fair to say that most of the older kids have, or rather the students at Rote in the art college, have at some point worked at SK and been exposed to the, close one-on-one plus 2-teacher episode and then moving on to the entire...
Correct. So they are very comfortable, they understand. And so I guess the transition is easier. They understand the rules of a setup. They understand how we are communicating. And I'm guessing those are the reasons why we are able to do those large numbers over there.
But that said, suppose I am, say, 15 years old and I'm coming into your setup and I have had some bit of early intervention as well as mainstream exposure, and I'm coming in, but I'm enrolling in your art program. Do I still go through the... It depends on my cognitions, what I would assume.
Yes, you're right. And also what kind of challenges behaviorally or emotionally you're bringing on the table. I mean, you do know that integrating even from the age of 12, 13, 14, whatever we are looking at, most of the times when you're assessing that you're always looking at whether there's an art inclination, because we are also looking at sustainability through the yoga, right? But you do know that it has been challenging for us.
I think there was a student who was recently onboarded and was still, in the one-on-one phase, though it's much like a regular school where they kind of go into a resource room like that, like he kind of, flirts with the various things to kind of still get an interest that assist him, that we can work. I'm sure he might have other interests that we might not have the, expertise to work with. But to at least bring him to a level where he can go anywhere, or whether we can hold something, it is taking that time, despite him being extremely verbal and extremely... He comes across as a teenager with above average comprehension. But, the more you speak to him and the more, he works, we kind of start seeing all these lines. So I think, irrespective of age, I mean, as I said, maybe, the cognition, social emotional understanding, until that is sorted, there's no chance of him trying to kind of, jump into a group setup.
No, it is not happened. And especially with the child that you are referring to, there is also the processing situation. We are looking at medication. We are looking at, and he's been in the mainstream setup all his life. So,
and you would expect him to just kind of integrate easily.
But it has not happened. So yes, I mean, more trickier, if you ask me, in those ages. And we assume that it's possible, but no, I don't think that's how it works. Again, I think specifically because you're looking at at creating a certain kind of impact. I mean, I'm sure it is possible. You can just put a child in the midst of 4 or 5 children in a group, and then whatever he manages.
Also, you should also cross your fingers and hope that he's not setting someone else off because of egos or, whatever, because at the end of the day, we're still working with human beings. And of course, everyone, we have taught them to, we have honed self-esteem, we have honed egos. So, as long as each one is not being set off. And I think especially within the autistic community, they're all very, very like, I'm the best and nobody should be better than me, or I'm the best at this. At least we have moved it to at least at this. So, you're very good at detailing, you're very good at centang, you're very good at, you're the best caricature, you're the best this, you're the best that, So when we start talking like that, their self-esteem has also been built to a certain level. So someone walked in and said, hey, no, I'm a better caricature artist than you, that possibly the person who's really thing might be elected, because at the end of the day, they are, all just regular human beings who come with their own set of.
True. I mean, very consciously within that space, because it's not just a college setup, as you're aware. It's an artist studio setup. There are many artists over there who are close to graduation and will go into full-time working programs. They're assisted working programs that we call as the artist in residence programs. And I'm very, very careful about this competition aspect.
Yeah.
I feel that already most of those teenagers who came to us, everybody has had a problem with self-worth.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them, I can tell you, has walked in feeling I'm in a good place. So I definitely don't want us to do anything that is going to further that situation. And then we work very hard to build their self-worth. We work with their social emotional understanding of the environment. We work with helping them understand how to work with the fact that they are not always going to get validated as well. So yes, it's a very tricky situation to balance, but I think isn't that the task of educators? Isn't that the task of nurturers?
Yes.
We have to find that balance for them, because these are young minds and they are really doing what every other child does, isn't it? And we have to help them navigate to the space feeling confident with it themselves and feeling sustainable in that practice. So yes, going back to the groups that we were discussing and how the day looks like in SK. One of the other complications is when we are setting the groups, those groups are not always sustainable. Like when we do the assessments and then we bring them in and then we realize that there is something that's setting the group off, then we have to be willing to change. We have to also be while I'm going to be walking you through what a day looks like, I'll be very honest, every 3 months this timetable changes. You know about the rigidities and you know how fixated they can get to their routines, and we don't want to encourage things like that. So we change. We create conscious change into their environments. We are also the only setup that does an 8-hour day with a 6-year-old, with a 5-year-old. We function like any other regular school because I very strongly believe that that is the basic right of the child. No matter what, you can't take that away. When you say, I'm going to provide education, then you cannot say that because you're a neurotypical, I will give you a certain kind of education, and because you are atypical, I will give you another kind of education. I don't believe in that. I think we have to work as educators to create that level playing field. So, yeah, I mean, going from there, this is what a day looks like. The walk-in routine essentially starts off where they're expected to manage their own bags and placing lines and their bodies and their space and stuff like that. But in that time, they also do something like the calendar and they do a mood diary. So a food diary as well. So they're reporting what they had eaten the previous night, maybe the lunch as well, and the breakfast, and they're going to talk about how they're feeling. For the younger ages, I've noticed even the adults in my college who do a more advanced version of the mood diary hesitate to write, I'm feeling angry because, I'm feeling upset because, I'm feeling sad because. They just go like, I'm not angry, I'm not upset, I'm not sad.
I think that stems from the fact that you are supposed to be happy. You're always like, I think yesterday or day before I had a conversation with one of the students, and he's like, why am I always expected to be happy? I'm having an off day. Why am I expected to be happy? And yeah, now I wanted to say, hey, I want to have a word with whoever is expecting you to be happy. The fact that you're at least able to communicate, saying, no, I'm having an off day, and right now I don't want to associate with anything, or I don't want to do anything, but I'll come back in half hour, which is a choice that we've always given our students, I think, from their very young ages.
Yes.
So, yeah.
A large part of your modification work involves going on a one-on-one with the child who's having an off day, spending your time. I've seen the kind of energy you put into that space at that point in time, listening to them, giving them the space to be themselves. And if the child cannot communicate, I know how much more tricky it is for you to actually be in that space, because then we have opened up the other world where the child cannot communicate. Hence, the release is not that, which is a healthy way to release, but the release becomes more aggressive. Then I'm going to use my hands, or I'm going to break things, or I'm going to do something else to release myself.
Or laugh.
And
it seems to be the, so common amongst people on the spectrum that, when they're upset, that they start laughing.
Yeah.
And I see it so often. Anyway, cutting to the chase. So you have the walk-in routine.
Yeah, where we are training them to do the emotional board, the mood board. And this was again a learning from your process, where you set it very clearly, saying that if you don't want to see these other forms of communication, then please build this form of communication which is necessary. So small baby steps over here. We are going with happy side. We're also trying to what is the word? I mean, help the children understand that all emotions are what they are. There is no good and bad in emotions. An emotion is an emotion. You're a human being. You're supposed to
And
feel
they're
about it.
taking to it, even the young ones?
No.
Because when I assess them also, I don't think they have the ability to communicate or express that they're not okay or
No, I am not okay even with you not being okay. So I have the kids, when I'm upset, and I maintain a very clear body language. And I've spoken to you about this. That's not how I work in Scotland. In India,
be neutral,
you can't do that over here. You have to help the child desensitize to the fact that I love you and I can smile at you. I can be sad in front of you. I can also be upset with you. I can also be angry with you. So that's, I think, a very huge learning curve for that human being. So I still have kids, when I'm upset, they now know the cue, like they've read my body language, they understand it. So then when I'm standing and I'm folding my hands or I'm going like, no, I'm not okay, then, they go, smile, smile, they're holding, like, no, smile, sorry, smile. And I'm going like, oh my God, what is this need? And I'm like, no, for 5 minutes, we both are going to have to accept, because I want them to accept that this is happening, right? So no, it's not working as fantastically as I would like it. I think it takes a couple of years, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not even months we are talking about. It takes a couple of years for the children to accept that this is normal. So we started that, then we go to something called as Hammer Songs, and it was really interesting when we started this. We started this because we wanted the greeting to happen very naturally. So then, of course, we are putting in routines for greeting and so on and so forth. But then we also had action songs. It's very easily available on YouTube these days. And we have a song in which the floor becomes lava. Technically, I mean, it is not lava. But there is an animation and that's going on where they can see that there is lava on the floor, and then the kids are supposed to put their feet up. Otherwise, the song says like, now you can crawl, now you can dance, now you can jump, and the now the floor is lava. And then there's one beeping, like an emergency sound that comes. When we started it, nobody was able to do it. It was such a failure. But then the kids really took to it. And it was so interesting to see, this is pretend play. This is how you build imagination. This is how you help kids understand, no, there's nothing on the floor, but I'm going to have to believe that there's fire on the floor, and I'm going to have to act in that manner. So this has become a huge hit. The kids really look forward to it. It also, I think, sets the tone for the day. This is like the circle time for the day when the teachers and the kids are together doing the stuff. Now, most of the other kind of sessions I take you through are not something that's followed in a regular school. Mm-hmm. But then we are looking at an autism school. So we have listening classes. Now, these are lessons that are curated and designed within SK, because we realize that a lot of communication is about communication about listening. Mm-hmm. So because of the different languages that we have in India also.
So during a listening class, you have absolutely no visual during that?
No.
So you are very clearly focusing on the listening.
Yes.
Okay.
There is no picture. There is no other stimuli. They are really listening. There are about 4 or 5 components to this program. The pictures do come in later, where they have to then say, okay, I'm listening to this now. Can I connect it to the right picture? But the first 2-3 sessions are purely on an audio.
And they're able to do it through this too?
Yeah, that's interesting. They build it, and they build it actually within a few months.
Oh, nice.
We also expose them to different ways of speaking English. What do you call that?
Is it intonation or is it accents?
Accents.
Okay, so they're able to pick up this accent, which is, not Indian.
American English. We have not gone to others, but we are looking at the American and the English accent, which is used in the United Kingdom because they are most popularly used in shows as well.
One is that is appropriated in Indian English is basically from the UK English. As long as we're not going into the Welsh category, I think we are sorted.
Correct. We do social stories, as you can see, slots over there for social stories, primarily because we want the children to be in touch with whatever work we are doing on a regular basis with acceptance. Again, I think this is a lot about like every time a social stories session comes, when a child was thrown a tantrum and we go into social stories, I started noticing they're like, no, they started associating something with you. The minute that like today is very while some the anxiety level went up. Just automatic.
No, because I'm expected to learn something that I'm not used to, and I'm expected to conform to something. And the beauty of this whole social story, the way we do it at SK, I think is because, they know that if they have read the story, then they can't throw tantrum. Okay? They almost, like one of your students almost believes that I keep asking, have you understood? She says, yeah. That means I should not throw tantrum. So she's really anxious, saying, oh no, I wish I could throw tantrum, but I've already read it and I've already drawn it and I've already had a quiz about it. So now how can I which is great for us. But, I think that the whole...
That's regulation.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do it in our lives. Actually, it's just that we are doing it in different ways. We probably do it because we don't want somebody to remove us from their lives. We do it because we want acceptance. We do it because we don't want to lose a social circle. I don't know, whatever the motivations are for doing it. I have very few of them in my life. I feel that the consistency behind, I didn't want, because you used to walk in once or twice a week. And then when the anxiety showed up, then there was a consequence to that for the work we were doing as well. So I integrated that into our program because every day, 30 minutes, no matter what, then you start desensitizing. The consistency supports your I guess, your neural pathways also to kind of say, yes, it's okay. And I think it starts modifying much more easily. We have Fun Thinkers, which is a very popular, hands-on IQ building program. It's a program which helps with logical thinking, critical analysis, but it builds your skills through hands, like through a game. And I'm very, very huge on play-based interventions. Functional lag, as we all know, the kids always struggle with statement sums. That has been a classic. So we separated that concept. We do statement sums, irrespective of whether it is an addition, subtraction, division, or multiplication, basic statement sum or a profit loss, whatever it is. But it goes as a separate category because we want them to kind of be in that zone at that point in time, and we do it very, very functionally. So if suppose we are saying that there are 25 chocolates and 2 has been taken by me, 10 has been taken by Akshay, how many are left? We do it very functionally. We have another program that I was really inspired by. I was looking at the work in Scotland where Peppa Pig was used to build a lot of moral values, a lot of acceptance, a lot of fun thinking, imagination, and so on and so forth. So,
is it still a thing now?
Where?
This Peppa Pig?
Yes.
I think it's still...
kids, yes.
No, I mean, is the series still popular?
Yeah, kids. Yeah, it is. For me, I think Peppa Pigs became a game changer over here in India with the communication aspect. I started looking at kids really wanting to communicate, and it became possible. So there are a lot of, what we do is we have obviously gone and handpicked a few of those stories. We're not using the entire drill because some of it's culturally totally irrelevant. It didn't make any sense. But if you're doing like a trampoline story, you're doing like a water play story, then it is relevant. When we do them, then whatever Peppa is doing, we are doing in the class.
Oh, it's much like the whole social story with Spider-Man and,
Yeah.
When we say...
But we are not talking about anything.
Yeah.
We're not talking about anything that the child is uncomfortable to talk about. We are actually helping the child release. Like recently we were doing a story where they're blowing bubbles in that episode. And they are then blowing bubbles in a glass of orange juice. So believe it or not, most of the children did not know how to blow bubbles into a glass.
Of course not. Of course
not.
not.
I was then thinking, why are we not doing these things? And it was so much fun doing that in the classroom with all of the kids. And then they learned a new skill. They also are so highly motivated to copy Peppa, which then comes very easy. Then you're not like pulling your hair and you're saying, okay, please
imitate me, look into my eyes.
Yes. Don't do any of that. They really like the video. They want to do exactly what she's doing. If she's jumping on the trampoline and falling, then we're jumping on the trampoline and falling. And I'm getting up. So I thought it was a really good way to build communication, not just with words, but also with the body. They are so expressive at that point in time. They learn to pick up all of these things. We do different exercises. Again, with all of this, we have built exercises or lesson plans that will gear towards reported speech, will gear towards expressive communication. And I think Pepper can be a very, very good aid to work with expressive communication. So that's why that box sits over there. I mean, we do have snack and lunch breaks just like any other school. Word families is a very core component for building vocabulary, which we do in between the bridge program, which is the preschool program, and the second grade. It's a list of 20,000 words. But when we are doing word families, we are also very, very focused on building meaning. Now, the word family does not have only nouns. It works with adjectives. It works with verbs, everything. Sometimes it has very big words like format and stuff like that, which children have no relevant application for. So the task over here is how to pick up those words and build application through it. That's what word families do. Then there are core subjects by like literature, grammar, math, which any other program in a school does. And we have also taken the exact same checklist of a grade 1. So we are not doing something that is more, what is the word for it? If a grade.
So you're saying that if I went to a mainstream school, CBSE school in Bangalore / India and looked at a grade 1 curriculum, you have it all, but the method of teaching to build cognition and application is more, because there is, first of all, you have an 8-hour day. Secondly, you're exposing them to so much more. You're trying to teach the same concept through our whole, muddy ground thing, where you're saying, okay, through literature also I will address this, through grammar also I will address this, through functional map also I will address this. Yes. And having said that, I think, that's why it takes an 8-hour day.
Yes.
Yeah. No, so I think that more than anything else, whether it's Finland education system or whatever, you don't have an 8-hour program, you have a 4-hour program, you have a 3-hour program. But what is the child doing after 3 years? What are they doing at home? So it has become currently, a race against time to keep the child occupied for all their waking hours. So you go to school, you come back, you go for this class, which is either a fitness or a sports class, then you go to pursue the arts, so you either do a music or a dance or a XYZ class, and then there's a sudden scare of, we have to empower our children with self-defense, so then there's that, and then you have some, whatever schoolwork you cannot attend to and you have to do it at home, so then parent is struggling for time, so then there's one remedial class for that as well. So then basically, maybe through the music class, the child is learning something. Maybe through the dance class, the child is learning something. But like you rightly said, like that 4 hours or 3 hours or 2 hours, whatever you're doing, it doesn't mean that it's just that the formal school time to go and sit and just listen and receive has been shortened. The time to do other things, grow your vegetables in the school garden, correct, try all those things, still exists. It's not that,
But that's what we are doing. That's what the fitness system is doing. That's what holistic education is about. Whether it is an assignment-based activity or, like you said, go and grow your own vegetables, go into the kitchen and
we tried that also.
Yes, Elliot Guy. Yeah, I'm huge on that. I think it's about also getting groups of children to work together because they keep each other motivated. And that's what they are talking about. Unfortunately, we are only listening to reduce the hours. Now, when you work with autism, you know this. Imagine reduce the hours and then they spend more time studying. They spend more time watching things on a loop. So they are actually going into that vicious circle that we keep.
And then you wake up and say, I had sudden, maybe a diagnosis of mental illness suddenly. You're like, I did everything
together.
I did everything right. Yeah, and why did this happen?
So yeah. I won't believe that the autistic mind should be kept unengaged. I feel everywhere that the child goes in any environment, whether it is a school, the home, you take into the garden, you go to a theater, wherever it is that you're going, I think it's really important to help them engage that word that you keep bringing up again and again, engage with the environment appropriately. And I think that is learning for them. So we aimed to do that, but I'm talking about various subjects and stuff. This is a core component of what we do. The Lit Sculpt is basically literature and sculpture coming together, and literature and art coming together. As you know, art is very, very intrinsic to the work that we do in SK. I have immense faith in the therapeutic value of something like that. Not to mention that there's also the possibility that you're going to build a skill over a period of time, which has value. So we start from those very early years where the kids are being exposed, and we know that not many autistic children, not actually, it's not available at all for a child to go into a space and to engage with things like this. It's so important. Both the art and sculpture also bring the sensory aspect. So then you're looking at balancing the sensory parts of whatever the child is dealing with. We have games and sensory play. So if you see, it's been divided in days. We dedicate 2 days for sensory play. Now, if a child is struggling with sensory processing disorder, we know that 30 minutes is not going to be enough. So I try to help the parent understand that the sensory diet then needs to follow through the day. But at least in the school environment, we are doing something to support that. And eventually, there is, of course, science, which I think is really about understanding your environment. I think I remember when we started science, and I told you this once, most students at that point in time who were 12 years old, and he said, "Where does a tomato come from?" He turned around and he said, "From the Shobha supermarket." I just wanted to die in that time. I was like, no, it doesn't matter. That's how the farming program in SK came to be, where we started growing vegetables, and I got specifically the students to do it because I wanted them to know where all this comes from.
We didn't have space, and you had these blue tubs there. Everything was glowing in light. Yeah.
I mean, it was important because, like I said, what is holistic education? It's about application, and that's where our children struggle a great deal. Application is about doing it right. It's not just about sitting in the classroom and then receiving information. That doesn't work for our kids. So a lot of the day, as you can see in SK, is very, very functional. A lot of the lesson plans also are, I mean, thanks to technology, we did not have the ability to do all of these things at a certain point in time. But with technology, we've really today been able to harness the power of it and unleash it, to be very honest. Just to help you understand this whole comprehension, cognitive regression thing, which you know, which worries both of us a great deal, because especially when we go into helping teenagers, we really struggle when their cognition is not where it needs to be. Theory of mind is a different story. I mean, the way it unravels in different ages, depending on what exposure they have had, we think that, oh, okay, child has gone to mainstream school, theory of mind is there. What? Sorry. There is no theory of mind.
They had theory of mind when, you and I are having a bad day. That time, their theory of mind is suddenly, I don't know where it comes from, but yeah, sure. Otherwise, there's nothing.
Yeah. So, going back to cognitive regression, which is one of the core things we target in SK, where we say build the comprehension and build it in a way that it is not going to just stay there, but also expand. To do that, we had to do immense amount of work. This is what a lesson plan looks like and the name of the lesson is Hizu, but you will see various components. So you will see that just the lesson itself doesn't have 300, it's gone up to like 600 now, because we also do research. We go into the classroom and then we test it.
And if the child is not understood, then how new ways to show?
Yeah. And we're also looking at verbal and non-verbal kids. If a child is non-verbal, has apraxia, I mean, no matter how much you force a child, he's not going to be able to speak, right? So we had to make changes, and that's where the numbers went up for us. Today, the program in SK caters to both verbal and non-verbal children.
Can you explain what these numbers are?
These are the number of slides in every document.
So, if you're saying the lesson plan and the comprehension bit has 305 slides,
here at 600 now.
What is the assessment, for instance?
So, assessment it's a question answer document, and this is an MCQ.
Oh, I get it. So you've said comprehension when you're exposing the child and you're talking to the child.
This is where it starts. So it actually goes like this, like clockwise. This is where the lesson starts. The teacher starts implementing the lesson.
Okay.
Like I told you, it has 600 slides. I'll show you a few slides of how it works. Then we learn to working with building vocabulary and the application of vocabulary. What do you do with vocabulary? You make sentences. There is a plotting document, so on and so forth. We'll come back to this slide. Probably easier if I go this way. So this is what a lesson plan looks like, where each and every sentence is actually broken. Each word is broken into a picture and a meaning. Now, where do these meanings come from? This is not from the Harvard Dictionary or from the Collins Dictionary. No. We built an in-house autism-specific dictionary with how the students in India are speaking or using English. I realized that the way they're using English is very, very different. But ensuring that integrating that style of spoken English became very important. So the dictionary is built on that.
Give me an example.
So, for example, if you're going to see the word over there for the zoo, it says name of a place where,
Humans keep and take care of wild animals.
yes. So that's a classic example. If we say, if you can read from there the meaning for at, so it's go near or go inside.
Okay.
That's not how it is defined in the dictionary.
Right.
Right? Special is good. As simple as just good. So we don't want to overcomplicate things. We want to keep it very, very simple, accessible. Again, this is grade 1.
I'm guessing for a higher grade, I mean, it'll be more complex because also based on the individual's comprehension.
Comprehension, processing. Now, if you look at the bottom,
So this is, you're saying that this is just a sentence.
this is just, it is a special day at the ABC Zoo is the first sentence of the story.
So for this one sentence, you have a picture, pictograph kind of thing. And then for each picture, you're explaining what.
So
this,
once
each
we
thing
do
is.
this, we have to check if the child has actually understood the meaning of the word or not, right?
So special is good. Now good means like, okay, you're showing the Christmas tree.
It as a camera. So which one would you highlight? Now this is for the non-verbal children.
Okay.
When we were working, initially we did not have these slides. Then it became mandatory for us to bring something like this for the children to understand whether they were perceiving. Like, I need to know what you think is special.
Would it be right to say that when you started on this journey, and I'm for all the viewers, Akshay Rasimnik had really built his curriculum along with the students, that they were a large part of building this, yeah? Yes. Like they kept giving you feedback saying, no, I don't understand this. And then you would put something, say, hey, now do you get it? And like, no, I still don't get it. Say, okay, now do you get it? Now do you get it? Now do you get it?
Yes.
And I think there were 3 or 4 children in that initial subset who helped you like totally put this whole thing together, whether it was math, whether it was English, whether it was science. They gave you feedback initially so much that your initial blueprint came from them.
Yes.
And then now that you have more non-verbal children enrolling, you have started the next level. So I think that it's important for all the viewers and listeners to understand that it has been and will continue to be an evolving curriculum and will continue to be an evolving process as more and more people come into the subset and help us understand autism better.
True.
Yeah?
True.
Yeah.
One of the other things, I mean, this particular way of laying out something, it was inspired by Temple Grandin's mom's book.
Correct.
And Thinking in Pictures, which I think we all grew up reading. And she explains very clearly that one of the reasons why kids with autism have trouble with comprehension is because it's not breaking things down. Words are not converting into images in their head. It happens very naturally for most neurodivergent children. It does not happen for the neurodivergent mind, which is, even for dyslexic children, this can be very challenging. Even for kids with ADHD, it can be very challenging. So I don't understand why education did not think of looking at this. She taught Temple in that way. So it was something that I tried to integrate, but then I also had other challenges where there are some very strong ideas already with the kids. If you remember, we started working with 11, 12, 13. Right, that's where we started. So they already had associated certain images to certain words only. So it was difficult for me to break away from there. I had to bring those things in. But over a period of time, now that we have started working with the 6 and the 5 age group, there are not any pictures at all. So we are now reworking to build those pictures.
Is it easier to kind of get a child, much like a neurotypical, to learn afresh? Or do you think it is easier to help them unlearn and relearn?
No, learn afresh. Unlearn and relearn is always a very, very difficult task. Okay, so no. Coming to these slides where we wanted to assess whether they understood what we were teaching. See, again, this system of doing a assessment immediately on the go is very, very important in an autistic classroom. Because if you don't capture the gaps, then you are not really going to work with the cognitive regression aspect. Now, we have to capture the gaps for the non-verbal kids as well. So where you were seeing special, and this is one gap that all the children had. Till today, it's been 8 years we've been working on the ground with this curriculum. Not a single child is there who has effectively established that they understand the meaning of the word special day. And imagine we are expecting them to behave when we take them out to birthday parties. If there is a Diwali party in my friend's place, I take my child and I wonder why they're inappropriate. They don't know how to behave in a Christmas dinner. They don't know how to go to a wedding and kind of like fit in. They don't have the concept of special day, right? So this became very, very useful for us. We also do things like labeling the picture to look at how the eyes are working. Many parents are not aware that even the way children see things on the spectrum can change. We have artists in the college who are very good caricaturists. You can't teach caricature. It's impossible to teach that kind of organic caricature drawing.
And she's so quick, my God.
And you can't slow her down, right? That is just the way the brain is wired. So, but what happened over here is nobody understood that this is the way she's processing data, even visually. She's not seeing it in the way you and I are seeing it, right? So we wanted to understand that. This really helps us with the visual referencing of how the brain maps things. Once we finish that, we jump into question slides. We also go to a communication slide where we are helping children speak in their own natural way. The sentence says it's a special day at GameSU. How do you perceive this? And now how can you communicate this? So we try to help them to say things differently. We have specific questions to the story, like what is the name of the zoo, where is it a special day, and so on and so forth. But we also build into generic questions for building generalizations like, did you go to a zoo? Do you remember the zoo that you went to? What is the name of the zoo, and so on. So that's how the lesson moves. Plotting, again, is a thing that everybody struggles with. And it's so important.
Lack of imagination also.
Yes, and even if you have told me a story, can I plot it? I mean, there used to be these exercises.
Where we used to,
Put it in order.
Yeah.
Very classic autism-based exercise. I mean, with the support of technology, we are able to do it with more detailing, and it has worked quite well for plotting. The learn to use the vocabulary daily is really about looking at a GIF, like you can see there, moving images. Look at the GIF and then make your sentences. Reported speech. We are working at the first level of communication. I don't believe expressive speech is going to come if you have not achieved reported speech. There's just like a step-by-step plan that we need to achieve over there. Again, listening is a core component. But in this listening exercise, it's going to be a specific story about zoo. We help with mind mapping because I believe it's a very important skill to build. Now, I was talking to you about gaps. Whenever I've looked at reports and I've said, okay, where are the gaps? Where are the gaps? When a child comes to me at 11, 12, 13, what is the problem with transitioning that child? We have no understanding of the gaps for the child. We don't know which concept the child has understood and what he has not understood. Then you were telling me, no, but my child is 12 years old. He has to do 6th grade. How am I going to do that transition? I have no clue. At least if you give me the gaps of what he did not know or did absorb in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, I put a plan to achieve just that and then push him.
So you're saying that these gaps that you have identified is over time through your work?
Yeah.
With over 100 children walking through your doors?
Yes. Okay. Yes. And if we don't identify, so what is cognitive regression? Cognitive regression doesn't happen over a day. I mean, you have taken me through 5 grades, for example.
I didn't understand X. Now I don't understand X plus Y. Now I don't understand X, Y, and Z. Now I don't understand A. And then you're expecting me to function. And at one point, I'm like, I don't have 5, 6, 7 concepts while my peer has all of it intact. Because maybe without understanding X, you cannot understand Y.
Correct.
So it's like a chain reaction. And at the end of it, when I reach my 6th or 7th grade, I fall short so badly that then, the parent is like, but he was doing fine.
Yes.
And he was like, but I'm like, no, do you realize he didn't understand this basic concept?
Yes.
Right? He didn't know what a special day was.
Yes. And then you're going to do Shakespeare. I don't understand special day over here and you're going to suddenly start building Shakespeare with me. It's not going to go anywhere.
Also because I think that the traditional education system, correct me if I'm wrong, you can get away a whole bunch with this rote. Okay, so then they just go tuck, and then finish 10th standard, and then I'm still sitting and regulating my emotions because there was a change in schedule.
I remember this example when, one of our students finished his 10th grade and the mother was talking to me and she said, I took him out, and then somebody turned around and asked him, "Do you know where children come from?" And he said, "From the hospital." But he has a 10th grade certificate. So I spoke to her and I told her, yes, but you were clear in that time that I'm going to do rote, and whatever with my child can manage with rote, and that's about it. I said, then why get shocked or surprised about this? But our problems get more serious when they come in those years, because we are the teenage years, and then puberty has hit, hormones are all over the place. Whatever, this also we.
And then and they've made complete sense of all the bullying and the trauma and everything together, so it's hitting you like.
Yeah, and whatever they have learned also, we have seen is gone. That also we have seen. So if at least we had a document which could map out those things, we have some kind of a direction to go with. We don't have that. And that's one of the reasons why my system ensures that we collect the gaps and we work with those gaps. So these were the gaps of the program or the particular lesson. Now, we also know that generalization is a very, very big thing for us. So, if we don't build generalization, you stick with that one. Then if you want to tell me ABC zoo story, you better tell me ABC zoo story only for a zoo story. Please don't go and tell me some other story. We have seen that. Or even if you tell, I'm not interested. I'm going to only engage with ABC zoo. So, Going to the Zoo is a poem, and Dear Zoo is a very popular zoo story, another zoo story. And we work in these documents because we want you to build generalization, where we are working again with the pictures.
So, you saw elephant in ABC Zoo. Can you identify elephant in Dear Zoo?
Correct. And understand that they are different stories, and also learn to engage with them positively. We do these differently, like they are done by the theatre team. So the theatre team comes in and then does this whole role play, or they are doing it through play with puppets and toys. So we do it in that manner. We obviously cannot take every piece of literature and break it down to the extent we will never finish
bearable.
Yeah, no, we won't finish the book. The time is just not going to work for us. And we pass on to a regular assessment tool that is used in any school, like question and answers. I have a question, you have to give me the answer. And there is a one-line choice question. We build on that. Now, this aspect of building comprehension, I think, is really, really essential in a program. We work with a sensory tool. So the sensory tool for ABC Zoo was definitely the nose, animals. A lot of that is with smelling. So we got different kinds of things into the classroom, and the kids would smell, and they just have to say whether they like it or don't like it. We are not here to judge whether you should like this or you shouldn't like that. No, we're just kind of working through that sense. So like how for listening, it's the ear. Here we would take one each sense and then kind of bring that into the program. Drawing and sculpting, like I told you, is integral. And it's really interesting to see how the kids actually take to it. They really enjoyed these sessions. And when they see this thing going into this class and coming out, they're
genuinely happy.
They're really happy about it. I mean, this has also helped us, ordering. When we did this story, in the story, the Zorilla has to be placed into a box. Z for Zorilla. Most of the Zorilla is there. No, most of the story, unfortunately, I don't have the money as an NGO to build animation, right? So I took what was available on BBC. It is a free resource and anybody can use it. And also, the interesting thing about their cartoons is that it was designed for neurodivergent children. So it was something that was really well available. So in the story, the Zorilla is going to sit in the Z box. We also did functional games where we built the zoo manac. And then we said, now put the animals in the box. If we didn't do it like that,
they wouldn't,
they don't get it. They don't get it. So these things helped with doing those kind of activities. I can move into other subjects, but I guess we have the hand for it.
But but this is quite amazing. And if you're doing this for one lesson, I mean, to go through an entire year of many lessons and many subjects, I mean, I think this rigor and this level of detailing kind of helps break those barriers for the autistic mind, because unless you get into the details, you will never know, oh, you understood this and then, and unless you keep backtracking, you don't really realize, where the child's comprehension is at, and you're building that from. So this entire thing you have been building over the past decade or so.
Yes.
And I hope you have your IP laws in place, because I think this is going to be on fire if it's kind of released, and it's going to help a whole bunch of people. So thank you for that. Can you give us an SP into what happens in an older classroom, just for like contrasting?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We'll start with
Is it the same amount of rigor in terms of
Yes.
number of lessons and stuff like that?
Very much. I'll start with showing you very quickly what a day looks like over here. As you can see, we are not doing work in routines. We are not more focused on calendar, mood boards. More mood boards. The food boards are up because we are not looking at that. We built the food
Also,
conversation for building conversations, if you remember.
No, but I think if you start on the food board in the morning,
Yeah.
you will finish in the evening because they'll keep talking only about food, and I don't understand how this amazing community is so obsessed with food. There's not a single exception when it comes to food.
Yeah, that is true. We have something called as artist building sessions. So this is essentially art appreciation in college, where you're looking at different artists. It's really important to see what kind of art has been done, and it's more immersive. And I mean, I've learned a great deal just by.
So when you're doing this, for instance, I have seen certain artists kind of inspired maybe by Pete Mondrian or whatever, right? So do they know who Pete Mondrian is? And they will kind of say that, okay, this person inspired me and his primary color conversation kind of inspired me.
They might not end up doing that because, again, you know the limitation of the communication skills that we have in this.
But they know who Pete Mondrian is.
Of course. They know Pete Mondrian. So part of this program, like for example, if a child's work is very abstract
and just for the non-artistic community, Pete Mondrian is was artist who is a Dutch artist and worked primarily with geometrical shapes and primary colors. Look him up. I think his work is quite amazing. And it's very simple. I think it was an interesting way to start a child's journey to look at that rather than look at, say, maybe a Renaissance artists for
True. Also, in most of the students come with a certain style. Like they start doodling when they are very young.
Yeah.
They start doing things. And when I always look at what the kids are doing, it gives me a very clear direction as to where the child is, whether he's going to be a contemporary, modern kind of artist, or he's going to be a literary artist, or he's going to go and do more nature-based work and things like that. So that's very helpful for us. While we expose them to all different kinds of artists, I think the core focus for each artist is built on where their style is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a customization that comes into this space. Again, social stories is a very key part of this department as well, for obvious reason, for all of the stuff that we are talking about. Now,
what is Pixton, Akshay? Can you explain it?
Pixton is an app, and we were the first ones to subscribe to it. I still remember the founder reached out to me and said, "Oh my God, you're in India. What are you doing?" And I'm like, it's a comic-based app.
Right.
It allows you, today there are many. I mean, I am sticking with them because I think that, I've also probably rigid in my head. If I start with something, I can't let it go. So I stick with it. But it's really, really evolved over time as well, and they're doing some amazing work. They're not cheap, but they really do have a lot of advanced features, and the kids are able to create a lot of stuff with it. So all of the social stories that you bring in, and then they're doing with you, the first time they draw in hand, because when you commit, you have a certain limited amount of time and you have to finish it. After you walk away, they go into Pixton and then they create those comics that you see, we print out, and then they are reading, right? That's what they're doing. We have subjects like any other art college, like form, Zentiro, shapes, color, space, and texture. This is a very, very common thing. And form essentially is...
So these subjects have been brought in from a conventional art school?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. These are like the basics.
So if I join JJ or CKP, these will be...
You will have to do this. Now, the only difference in this is when I open up the program and I'll show you what is the level of intricacy that we have built, which is why we are saying autism-specific college, autism-specific school. That will come into it. We do... these are artists. So we do something called as a mixed program. There is a learning and training program, and there's an earn while you learn program.
Right.
The learning and training program is mostly for the first 3-4 years while the child is, exposed to all of these basic skills, and we find out what the child's style is. That's very important for us to go into the earn while you learn program, where the child is not just learning and training anymore, but starts to work as an artist in residence, starts to do commissions, starts to build for the gallery, showcases that we do every year, starts to pick up projects. So we have a shoe project at the present moment that's going on there. There's this corporate that's making shoes. There are these Nikes and the big brand names, and we are getting our artists to illustrate in their shoes. We have done other projects where authors have reached out to us and said, can we have illustrations for our books? Of course, we have done the My Standard Kadak project where that's a theme-based project. So we want to really involve our children in real-life application of their skills. I don't believe Temperage will build otherwise.
Do you think the word has got out enough
No.
for your commissions?
No.
No, I think maybe, you guys should help us get more commissions. Anyway, moving on.
We do a yoga and pranayam program, which I think is very, very important. Most of the kids are not breathing properly. And I think a lot of regulation can happen through there. Some of them go into print production. So we do have different departments. We have the fine arts department, which is the drawing and painting department. We have the print department, which works with print techniques. I'm not sure if many people would know about them, but monoprint, lino cuts or lino printing and wood cuts and things like that. We also have a theater department, a culinary department is just kicking off, and we have a sculpture department. So that's what we do. We have something called as imagination building sessions. We do different things over here. We expose them to stories. We expose them to movies. We kind of bring a lot of visually rich material, or the theater team comes in to do some exercises so that they can build imagination. A lot of pretend is built here. Again, commissions, doing gallery works, getting ready for the year. I mean, we do World Autism Day showcase every year. So we really need to build for that. We have sculpture sessions, we have parade sessions, and they do coloring as well. So that's what a day looks like for.
How are the kids taking to all the physical activities?
Initially, always a struggle. And I think that's because there's no
One of your students called me and said, I don't want to do this.
Okay.
I am happy to walk around. I'm happy to go for a biking thing, but I don't want to be standing and doing yoga. I don't like theater. I don't like coloring. I don't like this. So yeah.
Isn't that about consistency again? Like building life routines for children. I think there is not enough attention paid by the parent community or even the educator community over there. It's really important for us to build positive life routines. And I don't think that is happening. But yeah, I mean...
Wow, this is just for horizontal lines?
Yes, this is the form curriculum. This is the first module of horizontal lines. It's the ABC of art. If you don't know how to manipulate a line, you can't move with art. So there are 293 lessons over here. And based on those lessons, we have built assignments. Now, the customization for this varies in SK binary. So all of the assignments for our students is not going to look like this. This is a template.
Till this, it's the same till the 290, and then the assignments will be based on the child's
interests.
Okay.
Their obsessions. All of my students work with their obsessions. So if a child wants to do zombies in an art piece, or he wants to do yakshas in an art piece, or you want to do flowers, whatever it is, that is their intrinsic motivation. We respect that. I have had parents who will come and say, oh, I would really like for him to do landscapes. I'm like, but that's not his go-to. So if you see the assignments from the students, it will be different. Like, for example, Rohit, who we've spoken about,
and Yogendo, I think, on this all this podcast,
has all of his assignments like these ones. He did it with like the Chota Beam series. He did it with the Teletubbies, the things that excited him. So that's the customization that happens over here. This is a color program. Color is very, very important. So what you're looking at over here is just the primary colors and how do you manipulate primary colors. And there's dry media and there's wet media. Of course, the difference is that wet media is wet stains and stuff like that. But you can see, and these are the assignments. Now in this program, the assignments will look exactly as it is.
Okay.
There is no change in that because we want them to just understand how to manipulate colors. And they, of course, end with a primary color wheel. So this is the intricacy with which we have broken down the program, because we also make tools for the line program. We had kids who worked in who were not literate, couldn't read or write. So we cut scales to certain sizes, and just for the touch and feel, the sensory aspect, they started learning.
Give me an idea of how this lesson, say I'm teaching primary colors, if I enroll in a neurotypical art college, how many lessons will I have?
For color, you'll straight be working with primary wheel.
So before the primary
yes,
day, you
that's
went to 108, is it? No, 47. No.
No, these lessons are broken down as per modules. So a total of, I think, these must be maybe 200 lessons, if I'm not wrong.
So you have 8 subjects.
Yes,
Each subject has
different
modules. Each module has a chapter. Each chapter has lessons.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
And you're looking at about 290 lessons per chapter on an average.
Yes, because if this is primary colors as a chapter, yes, you're looking at an average of 100 to 150 lessons, correct.
And how long does it take to complete the arts program?
The basic learning and training program essentially can go in between 4 to 7 years, depending on the child's processing. Again, the pace of the child is really, really important. We've had a student who has done it in 4, which I thought was never possible. I thought it to be in between 5 to 7 years, the bachelor's. But a bachelor's anyways takes about 5 years for a year. So we have seen that it can extend. I mean, if you're looking at children who have seizures and who, because of the seizures, are forgetting or losing skills, can be longer. So we work with students like that as well, as you are aware. Building that muscle memory of doing it again and again takes time. It doesn't come in a day. So, yeah.
I think that it's been interesting to see how I think you started with the art program and then you said there was no cognition and the child didn't understand basic things. So you went back and then there were parents who said, can we do the NIOS? And then you said, okay, I'll work with that. So I think it's been a very on the go thing. But now, 10 years hence, I mean, we see a very robust and very detailed and rigorous program. So yeah, for those of you who would like to come and visit us at SPA and see the work we do, we'll be happy to show you all this and chat with our students. I think that Akshay and I believe that, you know, it's about building communities, being there for each other, growing together. That's the only way this will work. When you work in isolation, it hasn't really rendered the results that we would like it to render because we can only offer so much. And, you know, we need a comprehensive support system for everything for us to function. We know our daily grocer, the daily butcher, the go to retail therapy, whatever it is. And I think if everything has to come together, we have to come together as a community.
Very important.
Another thing that before we, you know, end this season, I think let's recap. We've spoken about, you know, cognition. We've spoken about social emotion, regulation, regression, mental illness, versus, I think, disability versus distress. I think we've had a whole bunch of issues. Hopefully,
We did payment stories.
we have catered to a population that was interested and was looking for answers. I hope that we've been able to do that. We also showcased 2 of our artists and their families to kind of bring to light their personal journeys in this entire process. Luckily, we didn't bore them with our personal journeys. But yeah, I think it's been a good season, and I hope we've addressed as much as you have looked forward to. Do write in your questions, and do visit us at SK. We're doing a lot of research work, so you know, happy to apply to grants or anything because, as you can see, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. Do support us by sharing, subscribing, clicking, dropping by, enrolling your child, giving us leads on grants, putting us onto corporates, whatever it is that I think we'd be more than happy. We will continue to do the work that we do, and we hope that our community supports us. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you, Akshay.